What happened to me reveals why spiritual abuse is so uniquely devastating. Unlike other forms of harm, it pierces the heart of what gives life meaning. My relationship to the Dhamma, the Buddhist teachings, to community, and in some ways to my identity as a spiritual practitioner. I arrived at the monastery in some ways already knowing that who I am at the deepest level is awareness, love, emptiness, and energy. However, these insights didn't act like armor. They did not neutralize the phosphorus burning to my core. They did not make the napalm of spiritual abuse any easier to wash off. I was harmed, not just once, but in subtle, systemic, and overt ways over decades. Abiding awareness never left, but my insights became overlaid with confusion and pain. I couldn't reconcile how such depth of realization in my teachers could coexist with behavior that delighted in violent subjugation, coercion, ostracism, and erasure, or how some could describe the deathless, the nibbana, the ultimate goal of the Buddha's teachings, with great familiarity, while shouting at the nuns morning and night for months. Sometimes the meditation cushion became a place of hypervigilance. Chants which I had done daily triggered anxiety. The language of surrender had been weaponized. Even seeing ochre robes anywhere could trigger a trauma response. The community of nuns was left shredded, women scattered in a kind of diaspora. I had gone forth in faith, entrusting my life to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, the community. When the monastic code was used as a weapon, something foundational broke. Who was I, if the very thing I'd given my life to caused so much harm? My act of conscience, not participating in a ceremony where I could not do so with integrity, unleashed ill will, and the resulting targeting was devastating. When nuns participated, the wound cut even deeper. At a spiritual abuse survivors group, I heard similar stories, different details, same pattern, long-lasting harm to health, to finances, and the will to live. Most were still struggling 10 to 15 years after leaving, and yet, through it all, the knowing remained. The silence was still there. The taste of the deathless had not left, but alongside it was an emptiness devoid of warmth, a sadness that was so deep it required ocean to release, a tremble in my nervous system that took more than 15 years to unwind. The trauma responses were complex. Sometimes I froze, my body tight, my breath shallow, my mind completely blank. Other times anger and grief flooded in. This wasn't rage for domination. It was life force saying, enough, I deserve to exist. Healing requires courage, patience, and remembering that these intense states were visitors, not who I am. I learned to welcome them without acting destructively, without turning them inward. And over time, I found for me a bunch of things that worked. Attunement and safe relationships. Understanding my window of tolerance that magic zone where I could process emotion and be present with intense cessation without overwhelm or shut down. Learning to titrate trauma memories with moments of ease, of pleasure, of beauty. Gentle awakening of sensations, moving back and forth between warm and cool, soft and rough, wet and dry. Movement and dance to feel my body, reclaim my body, allowing buried tensions and trauma residues to surface and release safely, reclaiming what was mine and letting go of what was never mine. Contact with animals, play, and an ideal witness, an imagined beings who affirm my worth and boundaries. But I also discovered frameworks that helped me understand how someone could be spiritually realized and yet unaware of their own anger. Narcissistic and attachment wounds do not necessarily shift through meditation alone. They often require other modalities. When I did my own attachment repair work, it was a turning point. When I no longer felt that I was fundamentally wrong or something was bad inside of me, it helped me be able to turn my attention to look in the situation that I had been in and see some of the dynamics of what was going on there. These insights shaped my work, leading me to create the integrated meditation program, an attachment repair program for meditators, and teach trauma-informed satipatthana, which is the foundation of mindfulness with tools that allow anyone with trauma or anyone who is working with those people who have trauma to engage in the practices safely. Sometimes healing required bringing in an ideal witness, a loving, imagined figure who could say, I see you. Your anger is valid. You matter. You get to have boundaries. You get to say no. It's important to understand that spiritual abuse doesn't just wound. It disorients. It warps meaning. It can shatter identity. And yet, here I am, still aware, still listening, still devoted to the truth, willing to embrace stillness and the great sorrow in loving awareness, confident that who I am at the deepest level has never been harmed, and willing to do whatever it takes to live from that place. This too is a form of faith. I am Amatanasanti.